This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Are you on Substack? Because I am, and I'd love to connect with you there. I process things there over Saturdays and Sundays, days off, sometimes weeknights as I'm researching and reading other articles, and it inspires me to write things where I'm going deeper into the behind the scenes of what some of the episodes on A World of Difference are all about. I'd love to connect with you there. So if you are on Substack, find me. You can go to loriadamsbrown.substack.com as a free, or I would prefer a paid subscriber, because then you get access to more of the in-depth things that are exclusively for my paid subscribers. I keep my prices as low as they can be on Substack, as low as they allow. But I do believe in being paid for my work, and I believe you should be paid for yours too. So join me there and let's make a difference together. Welcome to the A World of Difference podcast. I'm Lori Adams Brown, and this is a podcast for those who are different and want to make a difference. There is a word in Italian, Brava. If you've ever been to the opera, you've heard it. Someone finishes an aria, and from somewhere in the darkness of the theater, a voice rises above the applause. Brava. Not bravo, that's for a man. Brava is specifically, distinctly for a woman who has just delivered something breathtaking. I grew up hearing music with a mother who is a brilliant pianist and a brother who is an award-winning songwriter and performer. I was just a kid, but I felt it in the energy of leading a crowd to feel something. The moment when a singer earned that word, brava. It wasn't a compliment, it was a recognition. You did something extraordinary. We see you. That word has followed me my entire career. Through 6 languages, 3 continents I've lived on, 6 I've worked on, 20 years of advising leaders in boardrooms from Jakarta to San Jose, and this year I finally named something after it. This is the story of Brava Global Advisory, why I built it, what almost stopped me, and what I believe it's for. Welcome to A World of Difference. I'm your host, Lori Adams Brown, strategic transformation executive, intercultural leadership practitioner, and now founder. If you're a longtime listener, you know when we talk about what it means to lead across difference, that's very visceral for me. Cultural difference, generational difference, the vast and fascinating difference between what people assume about the world and what the world actually is. Today, we're doing something a little different. Today, I'm talking about my own difference, the one I've been navigating quietly. That difference between being the person who helps organizations who are building their future and being the person who finally started building my own. We have a lot of ground to cover. I have had guests from Dr. Shweta Miglani to Catherine Matisse, to many who have worked inside organizations and are speaking about it, to join us on this podcast over time. There's some brilliant minds we've all heard. Some of them are friends of mine here in the Silicon Valley. Some of them see my rough drafts and my work in real life, but first I wanted to start at the beginning. Not the professional beginning, but the real beginning. Let's talk about the story behind the name. I want to tell you about a moment that happened. I was at my desk trying to write a bio for a speaking engagement. And I kept starting and stopping because I couldn't figure out how to describe what I do without it sounding like a job description for a role I no longer had. I spent the previous 2.5 years working at a Fortune 100 company, doing what some of the most meaningful work of my career, building global leadership systems, advising the president and COO architecting AI coaching infrastructure, running programs across 7 global cities, and I was proud of it. I've been on multiple boards and learned so much about governance. And then stepping away from that role and the way roles are sometimes happening these days in companies, I was sitting there staring at a blank bio and thinking, okay, who am I going forward outside of just the title? I don't think that question is small. I think for anyone who has built a career in organizations, sat on nonprofit boards or not, really built something, given it your nights and your weekends and your sense of self, being outside of that structure can be either disorienting or exhilarating or both in a way that's really hard to explain to people who haven't experienced it. I'm very self aware about who I am. I'm an ESTP on the Myers Briggs. If you know what that means, then you know. I'm wired for action, for engagement, for being in the room when things are happening. I don't naturally stop and reflect, but I move. And suddenly I was being asked by circumstances to stop, to reflect, to figure out what it was I actually wanted to build going forward. And so I went to the ocean, not to boil the ocean, but to just have it regulate me. It sounds simple, but for me, it's not the metaphor, it's the practice in my mind and viscerally when I get to be there living close enough like I do to the coast on a hard day. I can drive to Santa Cruz, take my shoes off, stand at the edge of the water, put my toes in the sand and ground myself. There's something about the place where the ocean meets the land that resets something in me. The waves regulate me. It's all that I am and all that I'm not. And the boundary between those two things is always moving. On one of those beach days, the word Brava just naturally came to me, not as a brand, not as a business idea, just as a word, just as that's what I want this to mean. I want the work I do to be the kind of work that earns that word. For those I've trained and advised, for the leaders they're trying to become, for the women and men sitting in boardrooms where no one has ever said brava or bravo, we see you. You did something breathtaking and brave. And then slowly over months, it became something real. I've been teaching leadership for 2 decades. I've helped senior executives develop self awareness, build psychological safety, navigate massive change. And launching Brava has put me through every single framework I've ever taught. Everyone. The Ikigai framework, which many of you have heard me talk about on this podcast, asks you to find that intersection of what you love and what you're good at and what the world needs. And realistically, what you can be paid for in this world of macroeconomic shifts and AI revolution. I've used that framework with people I've advised, my friends, my coworkers for years. Applying it to myself was completely different because I kept defaulting to what I knew I could sell rather than what I actually wanted to build. The work that matters most to me, and I mean the work that I would do and still do just with my friends when no one's paying me, is helping global leaders develop the kind of self awareness that actually changes the way they operate. Not insight that lives on a retreat report and then evaporates on a Monday morning. Insight that gets integrated, that shows up in how they run their one on ones, how they respond under pressure, how they make decisions when the data is ambiguous and the stakes are high. The work is not soft. That work is the hardest, most consequential thing a leader can invest in. And that is what Brava exists to make possible. I also want to say something about the timing. I registered Brava in January 2026, just this year, which means I launched a consulting practice in the same season that I'm also selectively looking for what's next and pursuing senior executive roles at global organizations. Some people in my network might wonder, how do you have all the energy for that? Running a search while building a business isn't something that is too much. And my answer is, I don't know, maybe. But I think the more honest question is, what am I building toward? And the answer is a life that is what success looks like to me, a life where I'm advising organizations in a senior capacity, running Brava, accepting clients that make sense to me and saying, maybe not for some of those who don't, speaking on global stages, continuing to have this conversation with all of you every week across 100 countries. These aren't competing goals. They're the same goal from different angles. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me learning. I'm a strong learning agility and curiosity person. And the through line is this. I want to be in rooms where decisions that shape people's lives are being made. And I want to help the person who makes those rooms make better decisions, work better. And that's what Brava's for. That's what this show has always been for. And that's what I'm for. So join me in this launch Brava. And I want to close with something I almost didn't include because it felt, I don't know, a little too personal. But I've learned that the things that I almost leave out are usually the things that someone needs to hear. So I'm thinking of you, difference maker, listener, that maybe you can relate to this. When I was a little girl growing up in Venezuela, watching different performers, I didn't really dream about being on stage. Being a performer has not really been my thing. I'm not an Enneagram 3, I'm an 8 wing 7. I dreamed about understanding the people on the stage, what drove them, what they believed, how they became who they were. I was always the child who wanted to know the story behind the story. And in light of this, that's why I love interviewing so many of our guests here. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? And are you living in a world that you are helping to build? Are you making a difference in the world for yourself? And as you lead yourself, which I often say and really believe is one the hardest part of leadership, that self-awareness piece, which is why I've built my own personal board of directors, why I've done all these assessments that I keep front and center. And I have people around me that aren't yes people, and they tell me what my blind spots are when I get something wrong, how to, you know, move forward in a direction that helps me co-create and correct and go toward the direction I want for my life that I believe in and that's strong and connected to my values. So Brava is that. It's calling us to who we are at our core, understanding ourselves. And then as we want to make the world a better place and the work cultures that we are a part of, that we are co-creating together by listening to one another. And that as we do that, we bring our own differentiators to the table to make a difference. I believe there are superpowers in every organization, and we don't just have access to them because they're there. We have access to them to innovate with them when we really bring them alive in our conversations and how we co-create together. And some of that involves accountability, and some of it involves just really being a part of a culture that cultivates that psychological safety, builds that trust so that we can bring our ideas, our best ideas to the table, and with those differences, make a difference together. To me, that's the bravest work out there in the world of work right now, is being willing to see ourselves and see each other and co-create in a world that really needs us to show up with all of our differences around the table as we make a difference together. So to all of you who are being brave to do the work on yourself and to work to make the world a better place, I'm just saying to you, brava and bravo. Thank you for joining me on this journey of Brava and for congratulating me and being so supportive as I have been launching this initiative on the side. And fortunately, it gives me the flexibility to say yes and no to what comes my way, depending on the season of busyness that I'm in and full-time roles. But it's also just a chance to really do some of the work that I'm building going forward as I enter sort of a new phase of my career, the success that I'm building for myself and in bringing others into. So thank you for all your support, and let me know what you think. What are you building? What are you dreaming of? And what do you have out on the horizon as you're thinking through how we enter this phase of how work is changing around the world and how we can come together and keep making a difference together? I'd love to hear from you and what your why is and what your story is. And what's a word that really resonates with you, like the word Brava does with me? Keep making a difference wherever you are. Okay, difference makers, I know you, and I know when you hear something you really enjoyed and you learned from it, you want to share it. I am like that too, which is why I love to promote guests on this podcast for you to get to hear them yourself. Sometimes they write books, sometimes they write on Substack, sometimes they podcast, sometimes their voice is just every day in the workplace where they live and impact their communities in a variety of ways with all the hats that they wear. So if you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you did, please share it with a friend, a parent, a neighbor, somebody you went to boarding school with back in the day, somebody at work, your boss, people on your team, because this is a message they needed to hear. And if it impacted you, please give us a 5-star rating and give us a review. It really helps our reach for more people like you to find us, the difference makers, the listeners, the leaders, the people in your communities that are making the world a better place. I appreciate you so much.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hey, Sal. Hank, what's going on? We haven't worked a case in years.
I just bought my car at Carvana, and it was so easy. Too easy.
Think something's up?
You tell me. They got thousands of options. Found a great car at a great price. And it got delivered the next day.
It sounds like Carvana just makes it easy to buy your car, Hank.
Yeah, you're right. Case closed.
Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.